Alright, so today we are working on a engine cart. So the plan here is we got to take this cart and put different wheels on it because these old wheels are seized to the shaft. I actually broke one of the mounts on the front of this trying to get the old wheels off, and the front wheels are bent. Now my buddy gave me these wheels. They're going to look a little goofy, but I'm going to tell you guys, the price of engine carts is almost the price of a dang engine. I can find a hit and miss engine, flywheel engine, easier than I can find an engine cart. So what ends up happening is you end up building your own. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So the plan with this cart, we're going to put this 4-horse on it. I need this this little cart here for the shop to like fix engines on, restore engines on. And that's not very fun to try to wheel around in a field if you go to a show. And also too, I want to keep the original skids on this engine. It's rare to have original skids. So we're going to mount this engine on that cart that we're working on and keep the original skids. So here's another prime example of a homemade cart. So I've already cut this off here. We're gonna narrow this down. My trailer is 8 foot wide, so I want to be able to get this 4.5 horse and my stover next to each other on the trailer. So we're gonna bring this down. I'm gonna cut this axle shaft. These wheels are so seized on here, it's freaking ridiculous. I broke the hub trying to press the front wheels out. I messed up a lot of stuff. And that's why I have to put these ugly big wheels on. But I got these for free from my buddy Dick down in Midland, Texas. So it's pretty nice of them. So Sawzall is a man's best friend. So, while we're waiting for the old Sawzall to cool down, you know, maybe wondering, how are you going to fit a square hole into a round one? Well, luckily this axle shaft just almost fits. So all I'm doing here, went down to Old Harbor Freight. They had the burr bits on sale. And I'm just barely having to nick this out right here in the center and each side and just kind of concave it and it'll work. And you might be wondering, well, that doesn't make any sense. It isn't going to roll that well. It'll roll fine. You gotta remember, these carts, I mean, they maybe roll 100 feet a year on the trailer, out of my shop, onto the trailer, to the show, off the trailer 10 feet, and that's where they sit. This thing doesn't need to go across the country. You're not going on the Santa Fe Trail, all right? So just make her good enough. These carts are already expensive as it is, so you got to do what you got to do. So while that's cooling down, I'll show you guys how I kind of use my burr bit and get this hub to fit. You know, a guy told me, he's a machinist, he said, you know, you're not trying to lubricate the blade, you're trying to keep it cool. And I have a lot of cuts on this Sawzall blade, and I've been using old coolant every time I make a cut just to kind of keep this thing cool. I mean, that's kind of what you're trying to do here, because the heat's what's going to take your blade out. I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm sure the YouTube critics will criticize that, but it's worked for me. I don't know, this cart still seems like it's gonna be a little wide, but it is what it is. Man, look at that. That ain't the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll work. That's gonna look really disproportionate, but hey, you work with what you got. I don't have the money to go buy an $800 cart, so we're gonna spend $200 instead. I'd say that's not too bad for a square hole and on a round axle. See how it does when it gets weight on it. So now we got the back done here. It doesn't look too bad. I thought it would look a little worse. It'll be a little unproportional to the engine, but yeah. The wheels here are independent, so this turns, right? Kind of like your car. Now, my other cart, the whole axle spins. So I'm not sure what this would have had. This was not originally an engine cart. There could have been a burr mill, could have been something on here, whatever they had. But my biggest issue right now is this. When I pressed this out, I ended up snapping, I guess you could call this axle, or I don't know. Well, anyways, I snapped this. Now here's the thing, I am not good at brazing. I have not had very much practice. So this may be one that I either get recasted, or I'm gonna take this down to my local weld shop, see what he'll charge me to weld that up. If it's under $100, I'm just gonna go and get it done. And then what we have to do, we're gonna move these in. So that way our wheels will line up. Yeah. So here's the linkages. Here's the tie rods, I guess you could call them. So these will sit right here like this. When you turn this right here, it'll turn the wheels. So I'll get this off. We're gonna get this cut. I'm gonna have to drill this hole out, and we're gonna end up putting this axle right here. If it doesn't line up right, we'll probably end up having to move these back a little bit, which ain't that big of a deal. But I want to get these wheels as close as we can in line. If you can see right now, there's about a 3-inch difference. That's gonna kind of look goofy. So well, let's get to that and get that going. So came out this morning and realized this whole cart's unlevel, and when I first got it, I was wondering if the front wheels are a little bit smaller. I don't remember. So what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to put a little lift kit here on the axle. So we're gonna get it lifted up. I got some of the hardware put on off camera. Here, buddy, hold it like this. You gotta hold it up like this. Hold it, bud. We're just heating these bolts up, or these nuts. They're pretty, get it closer, buddy. Right on the nut. There you go. If you guys can see, show them right how this is slanted. We gotta move this I-beam back so it sits flush on these right here. So let's get that done. So we're reusing a piece here, a decorative piece off a International Harvester wagon. I'm really excited I get to use my lathe for practical use instead of fiddling around with it. So we basically need to go 1 1/4 inch, so we're using a parting tool and parting this. And I'll show you guys the old wagon. This is what's left of the old wooden wagon. Now I've used this to build my Sparta cart too. There's one whole piece here and I'm just robbing parts off it. But basically they're these little, you can see them, these little decorative pieces. I'm not sure, it's part of the structure somehow, but they're kind of all over. And basically what we got to use that for, we got to have a spacer in between our top of our frame rail to here, and then we got to move our brackets up a little bit, so we're gonna have to drill all new holes. Well, basically that'll be our spacer that goes right here, and it's just about perfect width-wise. So we'll get that finished getting parted, and then we'll yeah, go from there. Yeah. So we got to get this unkiltered here, but now we kind of have a little decorative piece, and I just love the fact that we can reuse parts off that old wagon. So basically I just got to drill a hole up through here, down through here, and kind of lag that in. You know, this is more or less just a spacer. Most of your support and kind of rigidity is going to come from these brackets, which we're going to have to move these holes. So I'll have to take these off, move these up, re-drill, and then re-drill up here. But you work with what you got, and I'm extremely happy that I got my lathe. I can actually use it now. It's the little things like this that make the project fun. So I'm not going to bore you with drilling holes. We'll get this done and get ready to bolt some more stuff together. So these spacers, or these washers, I'll explain in a minute, but I couldn't find the ones I needed, so I've had to bore the insides out. So I haven't done a lot of machine work on camera, just because I'm still learning how to use this thing. Don't want to embarrass myself. But we've got to take and get this ID roughly this size, and I'll show you guys in a minute. That never happens. Right on the money. Huh. Doesn't need to be exact. Nice. So the reason I made these spacers here, if you can see in here, this is my, I guess, hub spacer to hold the wheel on the outside, and I drilled into the axle here. I did this off camera, but I drilled into the axle, tapped it, run a bolt with a washer, and then another washer here to hold the wheel. And on this side, I kind of did the same thing. Another washer, and then just a piece of pipe, and that is terrible to machine. Not fun. But at any rate, yeah, that works out pretty nice. So we'll get these spacers on the other side and go from there. But the reason why, you know, that's one nice thing about having a lathe is the fact that this is the kind of stuff you can do. I went to the hardware store with what I needed, and they didn't have anything even close. And I would have had to order special washers. And having a lathe solves those problems, which is awesome. So, well, that pretty much wraps her up on this video. I was going to try to make this one whole video, but I have that piece for the front steering getting welded, because that is beyond my experience level, and I'd rather have somebody that's good at it. So off camera, I'll get these brackets done back here, get that moved right, and hopefully the next video we'll have the new welded piece on my buddy's welding up, and we'll get the engine on here, and I have a pretty good idea how I'm going to do it. So appreciate you guys watching.
See you in the next one.
See ya.